Hey guys, welcome back to another episode for EverQuest 2. These are introductory episodes that I go through to teach you guys, or maybe not teach you guys, but to explain a few of the things that I understand that some people who are just starting the game may be confused about or want to know about before they even download the game, because it is rather a large file. So you can watch these videos, kind of hear from somebody who's played, a seasoned player, and see if it's something you might enjoy. You can also hear me talk about the different classes and the races and so on. So on the last few episodes we went over the fighters, the priests, and the mage archetypes. And so on this one we're going to go over the scouts. So we're going to go ahead and read the description, and then I'm going to go through each and every one of the little scout classes that you can pick. The scout is an ideal profession for those who wish to deal in the business of death and thievery. The scout is not a frontline fighter and relies on stealth and superior positioning to evade and attack their foes. The primary role of a scout is to deal damage or enhance the damage capability of those around them. The scout wears chain armor and has access to an array of weapons. Now, it made the little point of mentioning you don't stand in the front line, you evade and attack from superior positioning. The rogue, or the assassin, this one right here, has the ability to backstab. When you backstab, you do some massive amounts of damage, but again, like the name implies, you can only be behind them when it happens. So if you're fighting by yourself, you're not going to be able to use that ability, but in groups, where there's a tank who will take the aggro and you can sneak around and hit the enemy, it is very, very effective to do that. And it's a nice little ability that scouts get. It also talked about that you can only wear chain armor. You're a scout. Your whole ability, your whole existence is to remain agile. So you're not going to be wearing plate, but you're a little bit better than cloth. Cloth would just be too fragile on a scout. And scouts can take a fair amount of damage. It's not like priest or mage, where you're going to get hit pretty hard. Even though priests, some of them can wear plate armor, you're still not going to do that great of as a fighter, but you still hold your own. So let's go over Swashbuckler. The Swashbuckler is a dashing rogue known for flamboyant acts and grandiose accomplishments. Using cunning and skill, Swashbucklers inflict devastating attacks against foes before slipping into the shadows. Masters of misdirection, Swashbucklers often avoid the blame for their potent strikes. And then, of course, it says agility is what you need for your maximum power and increased damage. So when it talked about avoiding the blame for their strikes, or in this game, you want to have one person, usually your tank, take the hits, and everybody else support that character, either in ways of healing or doing the damage. So because a tank class is not going to do the damage. Now, casters have, and I believe scouts have, the ability to use one of their spells or combat arts to transfer all the hate that they've gained for doing damage to that creature and give it to another person. Now, this sounds kind of cruel. It'll be like, oh, you're basically setting them up to be the sacrificial lamb. But it's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. It allows the tank to hold the aggro, which is where you want it. And when I mean aggro, I mean aggressiveness that the enemy has towards a specific person is referred to as aggro. And if he can hold the aggro, that means he'll take the hits and nobody else will. And you can continue to do more damage, which he's perfectly fine with allowing you to do, since he usually can't do anywhere near the amount of damage you can. So a very cool class that you can play. We're going to go ahead and do Brigid. Brigands are crafty rogues who employ intimidation and force to subdue their enemies. The brigand maintains an element of unpredictable to arouse discomfort, fear, and confusion in opponents. Strike from a brigand who will often leave a foe crippled with vulnerable to further attacks. Oh, that was horrible. So again, agility is the primary stat. So when it talked about leaving an enemy crippled, it refers to debuffs that you can put on the enemy that will lower its mitigation, which is the ability to take hits a certain amount. When you get armor, it has mitigation on it that will increase the ability to get hit less, and so you can lower that on an enemy. You can also lower its strength and agility and stamina and so on with some of your stuff. Let's go say Troubadours. Now, Troubadours and Dirges are both bards in essence. They play songs that will increase either your like mana or your health, even your run speed. They have a whole bunch of songs that they can play, which is basically like buffs. But they're really, really cool class. I have one, and I'll show you guys that later. But let me go ahead and read this. Troubadours inspire and protect their companions with songs and bravery and heroism. By infusing music with magic, troubadours embolden their allies into performing outstanding feats of courage against their opponents. The troubadour songs are particularly popular with spellcasters. I think agility is your primary stat. Now, when they're talking about being popular with spellcasters, troubadours get the ability to do like a mana song, and it allows your power, which is what some people refer to as mana, to regenerate faster. So you will put a troubadour in like a spellcaster group when you're in a raid, so that their power comes back faster, and they can use more and more spells during a fight. Your power and your health will come back faster out of a combat when you first start the game, and as you start progressing through the game and get more armor, you'll get the stats that allow your power and health to regenerate faster while in combat. There are two very different things: out of combat power regeneration and in combat power regeneration, and you'll see them change when you're in combat and out of combat, and you can see exactly how much you're regenerating. These guys allow you to have a really good in combat power regeneration, as well as health and increase your attack speeds and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can play. Now, Beast Lords are a new class. I don't really know anything about them. You have to have, a active account. I only have a silver account at the moment, and you'll have less if you've never played the game or bought any expansions. But I'll go ahead and read the description. I won't be able to tell you a lot about them just yet, but I'll do a tutorial on them later when I go ahead and upgrade and buy the new expansion. Warriors of the True Spirit, Beast Lords and their warders work together to vanquish their foes of bolstering their allies. Masters of the martial style of combat, Beast Lords use their natural instinct to take control of combat. Their animal companions help them by opening up weaknesses in their opponents, which the Beast Lord can take advantage of. This allows them to lap into their savage nature, or to tap. Ugh. Sorry guys, I apologize for the horrible reading tonight. This allows them to tap into their savage nature, unlocking primal powers and turning them into a deadly and fearsome opponent. And then again, agility is their primary stat. So the fact that it's in between troubadours and dirge leads me to believe that they are a cross between a troubadour and a dirge. The only difference between troubadours and dirges is that where one is troubadours are based more towards beneficial songs for their group, dirges are have more songs that will do debuffing towards the enemy. They do direct damage or damage over time, lower their stamina, their health, their agility, their avoidance, all sorts of things that you can get. But on the essence, they are virtually the same class, just with a few minute differences that will grow as your level grows as well. So let's go ahead and read dirges now that I've already explained it to you. Dirges play songs of despair, misery, and lamentation that invoke intense fury and aggression within the hearts of their allies. The dirge can use music to inflict great despair and longing in enemies, demoralizing them so completely that their abilities are significantly diminished. And again, agility is your primary stat, and they just basically went over what I just said, that they can lower and debuff the enemy. They also increase some things for your group, like hasten, which will increase your attack speed. So if you want to go towards more direct damage or attacking, you go with the dirge. If you want to be more beneficial to a group, you can go with troubadour. Although they're both beneficial to groups, I won't say that they're not. They just have a different style of gameplay. Okay, so you have rangers and assassins left. Rangers are unrivaled in their ability to hunt foes and scout dangers in the untamed wilds of Norath. Known for sneaking safely through dangerous territory, rangers use stealth, perception, and cunning to seek out enemies and fell them from a distance with a deadly volley of arrows. And again, agility is the stat you're looking for. When it talks about using a deadly volley of arrows, rangers primarily will use their bow. This can be a good thing and a bad thing depending on how you look at it. If you're using your bow, you're going to have to keep buying arrows. If you're using a sword, you never really have to do anything. You don't have to go out and sharpen the sword. Your sword will only get damaged if you die. The same thing with all your armor will get damaged, and then you just go repair it. But simply using the sword, it never will get damaged. The same thing with the staff or any of the other weapons. However, if you're using a ranged weapon like the Rangers do, you constantly have to keep getting more. So I believe the Rangers have the ability to summon arrows or acquire new ones, but the best arrows in the game are usually are crafted by other players. And so you may want to go down that line of skill or trade skill if you become a Ranger. Or if you just make enough money, you can keep going out and buying more and more and more. But the amount of damage that a Ranger can do with arrows is amazing. The volley of arrows is talking about one of the combat arts that they get. And I've seen them literally kill or almost kill, take off like 95% of a creature's life that's even to them. And that's unheard of at a high level, at a level, 70, 80, or 90. Your spells just do not take off that much health because the creatures have progressively more and more health, just as you do. And so, it may take you a minute, 30 seconds, 40 seconds to kill an enemy. But to kill them with one hit like you can at a lower level just does not happen very often, or at all, really, in the other classes, except for maybe the Wizard. But the Rangers can do that, so that just shows you how hard that volley of arrows will hit for. And then again, you'll be in the back of the group when you're grouping, and you'll see them like shooting arrows the entire time. You don't necessarily have to be in the front, the back, or the side. You can shoot your arrows from pretty much anywhere. Whereas the Assassin, and I'll go ahead and read you the description. The Assassin is the master of sinister strikes and opportunistic attacks. Exceptionally skilled at surprising unwitting opponents, they strike suddenly and inflict massive damage. Assassins are known for using deadly poisons to debilitate their target before finishing them off. And again, agility is the stat you're looking for. Now, Assassins get the ability to have a sneak, which makes you basically invisible to other enemies. And you can walk straight up to them, preferably to their back, and then backstab them. And again, you'll do massive amounts of damage to the enemy when you do that. You also have the ability to add different kinds of poisons or diseases to your blade, and then again, all your attacks that you do with that blade will have that effect on it, whether it lowers their stats or does a certain amount of damage over time, or does a whole plethora of things that you can do. The sneak ability doesn't necessarily have to be used in a attack. You can pop that on, become invisible, and just go around and explore a zone. You can go through the entire zone without killing anybody, right up to the main boss guy, find a nice little corner, clear out a little path, and then just kill the main boss guy, and then sneak your way back out of the zone. It's a very nice ability to have. Comes in incredibly handy. There are some enemies that will see through it, and of course, depending on your level, I think it's like I think it's at least 10 levels. If the creature is 10 levels higher than you, he will always see through your sneak. But then, of course, there are certain enemies that, even if they're equal to or lower level than you, will still sneak through your sneak. They don't want you to have complete reign over every dungeon in the game, so they add those guys in there to kind of make it a little difficult for you. But if you're skilled enough, you can go around corners and basically avoid these people. So a very cool class to have. Exceptionally skilled assassins will do incredibly amount of damage and are very sought after in raids and groups. So if you're looking to raid and group, or you still want to have the ability to solo, they are not the greatest soloing class in the world because, again, like I said, backstab needs to be actually stabbed from the back. And if you're the only one there, the enemy's going to be facing you the entire time. You can't sneak away from them while you're fighting, and then sneak around behind them and backstab them again. So you only get that one shot right in the beginning to backstab if you're solo. So take those into consideration, guys. If you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment below, or always hit me up in game. And if you guys are interested, I'll be doing the races next on this game. I'll show you each one of the different races that you can go. There's the good races, the neutral races, and the evil races. And we'll go really into depth on each one of those, like I had on this one, break them up into 3 different videos. So I'll catch you guys on those videos if you're interested. And thanks again for watching.